Okay, guys, so this is FDL again, and I'm bringing you my third Shattered Fate preview. So far, we've looked at Gart, the human rogue, in a more of a mid-range kind of deck. We've also seen Vess, the new Shadow Warrior with a control build. But now I'm gonna jump right into what's probably the most controversial Shattered Fates archetype yet. If you've followed the forums just a little bit, you've probably heard about the Aramia Wisp deck. So Aramia is this new hero, the human mage, with a very unique ability. So for 3 Shadow Energy, you can go through your whole deck and pick any item that costs 3 or less and put it into play as if summoned. Then you shuffle your deck. So that's a very unique effect. I think it's the first tutor effect we have in Shadow Era. Tutor, if you're not familiar with the term, means that it's usually cards or abilities that allow you to go through your deck and find a specific card. So what this changes for in terms of deck building is that you can play a lot of single or just low number of copies of certain artifacts. For example, do you really need 4 Tome of Knowledges if you can at any time, well, not at any time, but a couple of times during a game, just go into your deck and put it into play. You can even use it straight away. So it opens up some very nice deck building options. Well, the forums were really in an uproar when Dark Turkey revealed this build at the beginning of the closed beta. And I'm gonna break my usual pattern and go straight to the key card. So Aramia Wisp is a new 2/2 for 2, which is usually a very bad for allies. So far in Shadow Era is it only Dirk? Well, there's Dirk and Larian Diplomat, I think, that have those stats, and you don't see them very often. Maybe Diplomat has some playtime in Lance or Amber, but he's still a very niche card. So he has to have a great ability to to get so much play at 2/2. So Wisp grows by +1/+1 every time a player discards a card from their hand. If you know your Call of the Crystals or Dark Prophecies, you know that there aren't a lot of discards effect, especially from the hand. There's Serena's ability and Payday, but apart from that, most of the discards effect, I think, are from the top of the deck. So, but Wisp has a few new tools in Shattered Fates. The most obvious one being, well, actually there are two engines here. There's Abomination Factory, which is a new 2 casting cost artifact that actually introduces a new mechanic in Shadow Era, which are artifacts with durability. So as you can see here, Fortified Wisp has 3 durability when it comes into play, and it's not an armor, so it can't lose durability by being attacked. But it has an activated ability that costs durability. So when you do activate Factory's ability, you must discard an ally from your hand, and you can give a target homunculus ally +1/+1. So Wisp happens to be a homunculus, which, by the way, most tribes got a lot of new cards in Shattered Fates, so tribal play is a little more encouraged, especially undead. I think is probably the best tribe. But yeah, homunculus also have a lot of nice synergies. So if you activate Factory and target Aramia Wisp, he gets a +1/+1 from the Factory, and he also gets the extra +1/+1 from the card you discarded from your hand. So I think you can see already that the play on turn 3, let's say you're going second, so on turn 3 you can play, if you've played a Wisp on turn 2, you can dig your Factory from your deck with Aramia's ability. discard an ally, give Aetherborn Wisp a +2/+2, so you have a 4 attack ally on the field that can attack on that turn. And you also have all your resources, so you can play something else, and that something else can be Glimmer of Hope, which is a new 2 CC ability that makes you draw 3 cards and then discard 2. So, if you just read it like that, it's probably not that good, because it's basically a cantrip, so it replaces itself, and you get to filter through your deck. But if you play the Bad Santa, you'd keep all 3 cards. But with Glimmer of Hope, you have to discard 2 of them. Well, if you have graveyard strategies, maybe that would be good. But I don't think humans have a lot of graveyard strategies, even in the new set. But since you get 2 discard here, you get to activate Aetherborn Wisp twice. And on top of that, since you have a bit of a combo deck here, you get to filter through your deck, and you can keep one of the 3 cards that will allow you to feed the combo once again with either another Glimmer of Hope or I don't know, one of the other utility cards we have here. So that's the main engine of the deck, discarding 2 Aetherborn Wisp and making him grow very, very big, very fast. Plan B here, because if you don't draw the Wisp, if you don't have the Wisp to play on turn 2, or your opponent can counter it with something like a Snare Trap or a Crippling Blow or a Posing Arrow or his 2-drop maybe. Plan B is, well, I think for me at least, it's Fortified Wisp, which is a new 4 casting cost Homunculus. So 1/4 that has 2 damage reduction, kind of like Sandworm, Armored Sandworm, but it also has the ability to grow every time it kills an opposing ally. Starting at 1 attack, it won't have a whole lot of opportunities to kill allies, but you can grow it with Abomination Factory. So that's interesting, and any deck that relies on direct damage or combat damage is going to have a hard time dealing with Wisp. It's very good to tank weapons too. I think I end up winning more game with Fortified Wisp than Aetherborn Wisp, because even if you do get your Aetherborn Wisp off the ground and you get it to 6/6 by turn 3, or you get it to 10/10 by turn 5, it can be countered by rogues, by a number of decks. It's very impressive the first time you play against it, but I don't think it's broken, and it's a very interesting archetype that breeds some life and some what's the word I'm looking for? Diversity in the game. I do agree that it can be, some games can be auto losses if you have a bad hand, and some games can be auto wins if you have a great hand. But I think the meta will adapt, and if anything, it will push the meta away from warriors, which can only be a good thing, and probably encourage hunters. So I know it's a big deck. It's gonna have an impact. It's gonna shift things around, I think, but I don't think it's OP or broken or anything like that. And it's very fun to play. Okay, so I'm just gonna go. So those are the 2 main threats. I'm just gonna go quickly over the rest of the deck. Here we can start with the new cards. Dagger of Fate, which has a free ability. It costs 0 shadow energy to activate. Basically, if you discarded a card this turn, or if your opponent did, but I don't think you can. Yeah, if your opponent did also, you could activate it. Dagger of Fate becomes a 3 attack weapon. So you're gonna discard often with this, with Factory and with Glimmer of Hope. So it's a 3/3 for 3, which is pretty good. Also, don't pay too much attention to the numbers here. I've seen a number of Wisp builds that have different numbers. I'm not quite sure yet what's optimal, but I just wanted to put a number of cards in that deck so I can talk about them and hopefully see them in action. Splicer's Crown, which is my alternate, you know, growing mechanism. It's kind of like Abomination Factory, so it's a 2 resource. Actually, it's an armor, this one. So it has 1 defense and 3 durability, and you can spend some of that durability to exile an ally in a graveyard to give a homunculus +1/+1. So if you have a factory in your hand and you know or in play, then you can't go and play another one with Aramia's ability. So instead you can go look for Splicer's Crown if you want to keep growing your guys. Also, one neat thing I forgot to mention about Abomination Factory is that if you have, or Glimmer of Hope for that matter, that if you have many Aramia Wisp on board, they all, you know, get the +1/+1 for each card you discard. So I think if something's broken, it's that maybe Aramia Wisp should be unique, because making one big guy isn't, you know, we've had big guys in Shadow Era for a while and nobody's afraid of them. But if you can grow multiple allies for just 2 CC, then that's insane value, and maybe that's the one thing I would nerf in this deck. So yeah, Splicer's Crown, it's a good alternate growing method, and it's also nice against the Undead tribe, which rely on having allies in its graveyard. So here you can exile allies in your opponent's graveyard to prevent Shadow Knight loops or activation from Bone King or Crypt Spawn Hound, some of the new Shattered Fates Undead allies. We have Roadless Travel here, which I talked about, I think, in the Gart deck tech. It is getting nerfed to 3 CC, so that's a bit of a hit on the Wisp deck, but it's not. You know, you stay at very low resources with this deck, I find. So being at 4 is often optimal, and you can play many things because most of your deck is 2 CC. So having RLT at 3 will slow down the deck a bit, and I guess that's a good thing. So Roadless Travel, yeah, allows you to get an ally back in your hand. So if you had a crippled ally, you can bring it back and then discard it again to Abomination Factory. It works best with this guy, this girl rather, Tenacious Buccaneer, which is a 3/3 for 3, kind of like Priest of the Light. So you know it has to have an ability to be playable, and that ability is that if it is discarded from anywhere, it is put into play instead. So if we go back to our scenario where we have a Wisp and a Factory in play, then you discard the Buccaneer to Factory, you get +2/+2 to your Wisp, and you get a 3/3 in play. So now you see the kind of you know, explosive starts that this deck can have, and why it's so scary. So it's also very good when you dig one through Glimmer of Hope, so you can discard it and put it into play right away. And it works very well with RLT, so you can, let's say you put it into play through Factory, then you get to attack with it, you can retreat it, discard it again, and put it back into play and buff your Wisps again. Well, I have a single Thunderstone Golem, that's just an experiment I was running, but yeah, it's oh no, that's not the card I wanted to play. I wanted to play Thunderstrike Construct. Here, Thunderstrike Construct, a 5/5, a 3/5 for 5 that reduces an ally's held by 2 when it comes into play, and gives a friendly homunculus +2 attack until the end of turn. So that's very good with Fortified Wisp, so you can boost its attack, get a kill, and get a permanent boost from it. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for new cards. Then we have a little support in the form of Consuming Fear, very cheap ally removal. You can play it early to kind of slow down your opponent while you're building your big Wisp. A Legend Rises, which counters crippling blows. It's very good on Wisp, but it's even better, I think, on Fortified Wisp, as you can get it to 3 attack, then it can start getting some kills if you boost it with Factory 2, and then it's impervious to direct damage, it can be crippled by attachment, it's getting very hard to remove. We have some Tome of Knowledge to help with draw if we need it, if the game goes long. If you get to activate your ability twice, maybe you want to use it on Tome of Knowledge. And the third time, I think, is pretty much an automatic Tome of Knowledge for me. And then we have Burgit, which is very much a key card in this deck. It's a very low-profile card so far, and it has seen some play in Call of the Crystals or Dark Prophecies, but it really shines in this deck. Like the nut draw here is turn 1 Burgit, turn 2 Wisp, and turn 3 you grow it to 4/4 or 6/6 behind the Protector, so it can be crippled, it can be insta-killed, it can be disabled, and that's one of the cards you're looking for when you play Glimmer of Hope, especially on turn 3. You can play Glimmer of Hope, draw 3 cards, discard 2 of them to get your Wisp +2/+2, and if you happen to get Burgit from it, then you can play her to use your third resource. And yeah, very much a key card. It screws a lot of builds. Protector isn't something people expect much, so usually it makes them lose a turn, which is very good. Probably all you need to beat them. So yeah, this is the big deck. That's the talk of the town right now. And like I said, the numbers can change a lot. You can play, there's another new mage ability that's kind of interesting here, Stone Skin, that counters the first ability that's played on an ally. So if you play Crippling Blow on my Wisp and I have Stone Skin on it, well, the Crippling Blow will go directly to the graveyard, and the Stone Skin will be destroyed too, but that can be a very nice tempo play. It's kind of like another Protector. You'll notice I'm playing not a single piece of burn in this deck. You can probably play Fireballs or maybe even Lightning Strikes over Consuming Fear, but I like Consuming Fear when I'm going second and let's say the opponent plays a Ironhide Karash or the new Harbinger of Doom, those 2 attack 2/2s, or even Puin. I like having the option of putting a Consuming Fear on them. So okay, so that's the basics, and now gonna go see if I can find a game to show you guys. See you on the other side.